But they stepped out and basically said, hey, we are going to cater to sellers. And that was the only piece that wasn't catering to sellers, in my opinion. And then they reversed it. Hello everybody, welcome back to Commonwealth Flipper. Welcome to the cabin. Sales finally started to pop a little bit better than they had last week for me on eBay, so I'm excited about that. But I've got two topics I've really wanted to talk about for quite a while. Actually, one I've wanted to talk about for a while, and it relates to a lot of us, and it's something I'm pretty passionate about. And then another topic that I just saw come across just a couple days ago that makes me, and it's a good tie-in, it makes me think about the words people say, the things that they do, what they type into social media, what they say on social media, people like me. And I think those things are far more important than anybody gives anybody else credit for. And I want to talk about those things, and I want to show you some things that sold. Let's go take a look. I got an email on the 14th of May, and I want to talk about that. I'm sure I've seen it out there in some of the Facebook groups, in our Facebook group, Trash to Cash, but I haven't mentioned it yet on this show, and I want to. And I want to mention it because it ties into the rest of what I want to say today on a totally different topic. And that it's about the reselling community as a whole. You know, we hear that all the time, the community. And I want to talk about that and what I think are the big beneficial effects. There's some negatives too, and I want to talk about that. I'm trying to find, is this it? Right here, Scotty Cameron. I think this is the one, the Mid-South. No, I'm not sure it is. Yeah, I went and looked, and this is the one. Llama-Palooza 2018, Mid-South Club, Titleist, Scotty Cameron head cover. And that one sold for $38 plus shipping. You know, if you've been listening to this show for the last few years, you know, geez, what have we, 4 years now? It's been a while. Thanks for watching, by the way. You know, I typically am not the first one out of the gate when there's a big change, a big new topic. I like, what do they say, swift to hear and slow to speak. And I like to understand an issue before I start popping off. I'm guilty of doing that every once in a while, but that had a little bit to do with me talking about Mercari's changes, and I'm thinking I'm getting a picture when I see reactions, when I see what eBay's doing, see what Mercari's doing, I see what these other platforms are doing, and they're starting to react, in my opinion, to each other a little bit, and there are some, I think, some seismic shifts. Maybe not seismics, but there are definitely people looking into the future a lot more than I think they have been over the last few years, because, let's face it, it was a boom for resellers, you know, 2-3 years ago, and it's kind of slowed down a little bit, or at least plateaued. This dog's down here crying for treats, and we talked about this just a little bit on that particular podcast right there. And I'll be honest with you, it was discussing that stuff on that podcast, watching some other folks, watching some other YouTube videos, watching the comments on some of these Facebook pages that really gave me a little bit more of a clear picture on this. And this is what I saw come across my screen here. Reinstating our prior returns policy. Well, I'm going to have to kick you out, dog. 3-day window to return inaccurately described item. That's the Mercari policy. You remember they changed it. I think they were doing something that they thought was going to be good, but they listened. At least that's what they say happened here. And I'm not quite sure, but let me read this. They say, we recently announced a return for any reason policy in an effort to make it even easier to buy and sell on Mercari. After careful consideration and listening intently to feedback from our seller community, we have decided to reinstate our prior return policy effective May 22nd. Returns for any reason will no longer apply. So there's two parts of this I want to explore for a second. Get your opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just, I think through these things a little bit, and I think I'm seeing what's going on here just a little bit, but especially between Mercari and eBay, but all these new reselling platforms or old reselling platforms. They also say we remain committed to piloting policies that benefit our entire community and will continue to act swiftly to adapt when needed. And they did act swiftly. I got to give them some credit for that. Now, this policy is obviously heavily weighted in the seller's perspective. There's no doubt about that, as were the other changes that they made. So first thing here, the bigger point in this whole thing, and then I want to kind of get in the weeds for just a second about some of these changes that seem to be quick. reversing quick decisions and eBay talking about revolutionary things. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I want to get into that a little bit as well. But the bigger picture is, at least what they're saying is, hey, we're listening to sellers here. I think that's important. There is a huge community, whether it's on Facebook, now on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, obviously. And I think that those things are making a big, big difference. Not necessarily as much as we want, but your voices are being seen, heard on comments. I guarantee you these platforms are listening. I know it for a fact. I know 100% that they're listening. I'm not going to get into how I know that they're listening, but I know just from certain people who give me certain comments, and it seems pretty evident. That doesn't mean they're going to listen to everything that all resellers say. That's not the argument I'm trying to make. But what I'm trying to say is you're making a difference out there, and I can see it. And this thing is proof, in my opinion. Maybe I'm crazy, and maybe it's futile, but I don't think it is. And I think it's simply because of competition. I've made this point before. You know, innovation, change, competition, all that stuff is not necessarily a negative for resellers. Even the folks out there that hate whatnot, they're like, oh, everybody should do eBay. Listen, just the simple fact that there is options out there for resellers is causing certain platforms to make certain decisions and apparently reverse them as well. So Computer Truck from Eldon picked this up. I was with Mike Death Pile Picker that day down in, where the heck were we at? I forget, Mike, where were we at? Oh, we were down in Peaches to Beaches on the day before the sale, actually. I can't remember what I paid for this one. $10 maybe? Sold for $45 plus shipping. So I want to get back to the bigger point in a little bit and talk about resellers almost protecting each other and the community kind of sticking together, even though in reality we do compete against each other and there's disagreements and all that stuff. But the fact that there are places for folks like us to go to feel part of something bigger is a big deal, in my opinion. Maybe I'm overblowing it, but I think it's a big deal, and it's becoming more of a big deal because of the competition between these big platforms. But before we get back to that, you know, I do believe, and I said this on the podcast, there is a fight for market share because this is still a growing business. This is not, you know, it's plateaued to a certain degree, but year over year growth going, 20 years ago, it just continues to grow. And I think it's going to continue to grow even further, especially as people talk about insulate themselves from the outside world in some ways. I mean, you can live your life without hardly leaving your home if you have a certain job these days, delivering food and, all that stuff. The price of gas going up and people don't travel. There's all kinds of things. I'm not suggesting that's a good way to live. I'm just saying that that's what's happening. I saw it with kids in the younger generation that I taught. They're not out there every day anymore. Stuff is coming to them at a greater rate, entertainment, goods, food, all that stuff. And I think that these platforms are competing. Now, Mercari took a drastic step in a direction I didn't expect. I don't think any of us did. No seller fees, right? And I don't want to get into that debate now. I realize there's still fees and lowering your cost and all that. That's not what I'm arguing. But they stepped out and basically said, hey, we are going to cater to sellers. And that was the only piece that wasn't catering to sellers, in my opinion. And then they reversed it, where I think that eBay is taking a different tact right now. And I'm not saying they're catering necessarily just to buyers, but they are certainly trying to put the price point for items, whether it's they're returning the shipping costs, the excess bonus shipping cost money to the sellers, whether it's the new thing that everybody's starting to talk about, this price matching, that kind of thing. They're taking the other tact. And to be honest with you, I don't know what the right tact is to take, but they're both, in my opinion, designed to get market share, to gain market share, which to me, if that's their focus, they may have seen a downturn in market share. And I think that's the case. Now, before people start commenting, that doesn't mean I'm saying that eBay is losing sales. They're actually gaining more sales. It's just as a percentage of the entire reselling market, they don't have as big of a share of that as they used to. In other words, it's not time to panic and leave eBay. That's still where the sales are. And I think it will be for the foreseeable future. George Sanderson bought this for $4 the other day. Not a huge sale right here, but still a decent one, I guess. It was worth $4. Sold for 21. I don't know, is that good? And that was 10% off, so, you know, not too bad. I'll take that sale. I'll make, what I'll make on that, like 13 bucks? I'll take it. Back to the bigger point for a second. If, just hypothetically here, if you were one of these big online selling platforms and you wanted to know the real opinion of the folks who sell for you or buy from you for that matter, that information is out there ready for you to see in real time. If you make a change, you want to go to one of these Facebook groups, you want to go to these YouTube videos, look in the comments when something's discussed, it's right there for you to see. I would almost think that maybe they should do things in advance. Put proposals out there in advance. And I think they have to some degree. They roll out things in bits and pieces to see the reaction before they go full bore. Probably should do that more, but Canon MP20DH. This one I bought reluctantly because the sell-through rate wasn't great on it. There weren't even many out there, but it was so cheap. I bought it last year at the Escape from the Interstate sale, and it waited and waited and waited, but we finally sold it. So I probably paid $5 for it. $64.95 plus shipping. So my big point is words mean things. They have significance. They have importance. And what people have said immediately when Mercari did these changes, 10 YouTube videos, I see it all over Facebook groups, I see it everywhere, Instagram, and this happened with this as well. I remember it was an immediate topic of discussion in the Discord, in the Trash to Cash Facebook group. All that stuff was out there in almost real time. And of course there's comments on it as well. And not that we're all going to agree, and that's not even really the point here. But the point is that the things that we say, that's why I'm so careful sometimes, and I do what I'm doing right now, and I give context to everything. It's what turns a lot of people off from listening to me. But, you know, words do mean things, and I try not to say the things that are wrong, and try not to give concrete statements like this is absolute fact, because in reality, I don't really know. But you can certainly see these trends, and I hope that this is a trend that continues. These online marketplaces aren't just competing for buyers, they're competing for sellers. And now that sellers have different options, they need to compete for us as well. So I think that is a good thing that's happening. I've said it for a long time. I don't like the days of one monolithic place where you can resell, and if you get kicked off, you're done. That's not the case anymore, at least for the most part. I think resellers are educating themselves more than ever because of things like YouTube. It's available, right? I couldn't educate myself very much 15, 20 years ago, 22 years ago when I started. This is odd. I had listed a bunch of these Disney watches, and then one of the old ones that I had listed, a watch that I had listed that wasn't Disney, sold. None of the new ones yet. It's a Pepe Le Pew Amatron watch. And that one sold for, I think I paid $1 for it, $25.95 plus shipping. So not just educating ourselves, but then taking that knowledge is power, and advocating for ourselves. And I think that a lot of folks have done that even without even knowing it. Your comments on topics in Facebook groups, your comments in videos, all that stuff is out there and can be seen. And if, in my opinion, if some of these different marketplaces look at those things, it'll give them an edge in trying to make sure that not just their buyers are satisfied, but the people who make money for them are satisfied as well. I think another example of this, Sophie came in to join us, by the way. She tried to come in here to get away from Wallen, I think, but I accidentally let Wallen in. Let me talk about this, and I'll talk about that first. So, Nike Team Sports. This is an amazing shirt, with one exception right there. I mean, just look at this thing. I priced it top of the market for anything like this because it's got the tag, and it's still sold in less than a day. Sold for $50 plus shipping. Florida State Seminoles Nike Team Sports vintage with tag. Absolutely awesome shirt. I think another example of this, and I say I think, knock on wood, is when there was quite a hue and cry, and it came from me too, for that matter, because I was experiencing it. I have still on different platforms, but what a lot of sellers viewed as the abusive nature of some of these big companies trying to disallow the sale of certain items, in my opinion, unlawfully on sites like eBay. I believe, I don't know this, I haven't talked to anybody, but I believe that they are doing a better job of fighting it than some of these other platforms and recognizing it for what it is. I hope that's the case. And there was a lot of talk about that across social media as well. And so, you know, it's a certain matter of self-preservation for some of these different platforms, of course. But I'd like to think that they're listening to their sellers. And when they have this kind of stuff that scares away the people that make them money, us, then they should be listening. And I think in certain cases they are. Now, are they listening because they care about us? Or, you know, Mercari says, hey, we're listening to you. We care about... Look, I don't really care. They should be listening because they care about themselves. And that's, you know, come on, let's face it. We're all selfish creatures when it comes down to it. We're all looking out for ourselves to some degree. Cooter, Ben Jones right there. I bought that the other day at that sale on the Commonwealth Picker channel. And these have sold for up to like $40, but I had so many people asking me about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put it out there for $30 plus shipping, first come, first serve, and it sold almost as soon as we put it up. It's pretty cool. I will ship that out in one of these if it fits. If it doesn't, I'm going to put it in. Look at that. It's going to fit perfect. I might put a little extra cardboard to reinforce it, but I'm going to put it in a little bag, put it in there. I think. If not, we'll have to ship it out in one of those record boxes under there. Hey, that reminds me. Who am I thinking here? Todd bought plans for the Commonwealth Picker shipping table. What are you doing? At CommonwealthPicker.com. Whoever sent me these, thank you, because they're all I have left. Mojo's Protein Bits. Somebody sent it to me, and these two love it. The other pup, not so much, but these two love it. After not selling, I'm in the eBay cave, by the way, for those of you who are new to the channel. After not selling in forever, there's the large, and I think that's the small. These Nike dry fit tees, like 2 weeks, no sales at all, and then all of a sudden they started selling every day again. And to get back to that other topic here, and first of all, the small one sold for $14.95 plus shipping. The large one sold for $19.95 plus shipping. And I sold this Vera as well. This one was to a viewer. Hold on a minute, I think I pulled the wrong one. And it went to Nora. Nora, I'm not sure you're a viewer, but since you bought two things together, I think maybe you are. So we appreciate that. The Vera and the t-shirt for $34.90 plus shipping. Like I said, I think I pulled the wrong one. I better go look. But I'll try to get that right for you. Appreciate it. And in a seemingly unrelated topic, I'm going to go off and diverge a little bit because I think it has a lot of similarities to what I'm talking about. I have been seeing a lot on social media, a lot of people who post these videos like I do, you know, thrifting videos, garage sale videos, and they're getting a crazy good deal on something and they're making money, and then all the reseller haters come out. I've seen a lot more people responding with the arguments that we always talk about and defending each other in the comments, and I think the tide has shifted on some of them. I'd put a video out like that and I knew I'd get excoriated, but to my pleasant surprise, these are two Panasonic cordless phones, $20 plus shipping. Like I said, I was surprised because I did. It was a video. I picked up an unbelievable plush buy, just had everything in it, and posted that on TikTok, and usually they just crush you because the guy's like, you want to buy everything on the table? And I said, yeah, half off. I'll buy everything you have. Not just that table, but this table, the bins under the table. And I was getting a good deal. There was no context, of course. It was 11:20 in the afternoon, and they had been selling all morning, and they still have tables and tables full of stuff. And yeah, I made a bunch of money on that. And so people were ripping me off. How did you know, you're getting such a good deal. How could you even do that? They're trying to make money too. And I would have paid more for it, and just all, you know, all these things that, you know, tell me you're not a reseller by, you know, not saying that you're not a reseller. But what I saw in the comments was an overwhelming flood of people that were like, dude, what are you talking about? You know, would you give yourself a voluntary pay cut? You know, pay more than you're supposed to? You know, they talked about arbitrage. That's really all this is. Taking something out of a very limited marketplace for that market's value. And at that point, that was that market's value, period. Obviously, because they sold it to me. They wanted it gone. And putting it in another marketplace and getting that marketplace's value. I guess I'll just read one of them and we'll just summarize them. I'm not going to read through all these, but you know, if you know they're grossly underpriced, why try to weasel them into a lower price? It's kind of predatory and unethical. So, but the good news is the responses to that, like I've never seen before on TikTok. I think there's enough people, there's enough exposure out there that realize really what it is we're doing. And most of us out there don't make a whole ton of money doing this. And, you know, I don't want to go over the old arguments, but, you know, if a reseller is going to buy something, it has to be at a certain price. And their bottom line is determined a lot of times by that dollar amount that they're spending. And there's so much work that goes into it. And there was so much there. There were days and days of work right there. And they were, I mean, you can kind of get the feel of somebody who's selling something, right? It was later in the day. This guy, I feel like I could have got it even cheaper than that, what I paid for it, and I didn't do it. But, you know, that's not to say one is unethical, one is ethical. If somebody wants to pay more than the asking price, you know, go for it. It's up to you. But to criticize resellers out there for trying to get a lower price at a marketplace that doesn't necessarily dictate a higher price, you know, there's nothing unethical about that, about what we do out there. It's not unethical to have two people agree on a price. And a lot of people were making that argument. A lot of times I'll go on and respond on these things. Sometimes I won't. It just depends on how much time I have. But I think it's important to make some of these arguments, you know, the whole Bible argument, like, you know, you're terrible for selling Bibles. And of course, Walmart sells Bibles and whatever. And I see all these responses from folks out there defending the practice of reselling, of garage selling, of thrifting and all that stuff. I think it's making an impact, and Sophie's not happy that she's not coming in. You know, this next item made me think of a comment, something I posted on my Facebook page the other day, and somebody was like, you know, you should have paid what they're asking, or you should have let a collector buy it, or whatever, or, you know, tell them, essentially, one of these choices, right? These are the ethical things to do. Tell them exactly what they're worth. And then if they'll sell them to you, like, oh my gosh, this is nuts. I would love that, though. I'm thinking about doing a Good Samaritan garage sale video where I just go out and don't buy anything. Just find the stuff that's all worth money and then tell all the people who are selling it what it's worth. It might be entertaining. I don't know. This is a box of the leftover trains from that big buy we had. And that gives me, this is why it reminded me of it right here. I'm not even going to show them to you. There's a bunch of HO trains in there. This one might have been a viewer. Actually, I don't know if it's a viewer, but Rose is a repeat buyer. So I'm going to say thank you to Rose, although I've sold a lot of train stuff, so maybe that's why. And a lot of it on auction might actually be a reseller. $34 plus shipping. So here's a comment on Facebook that I posted on Facebook. It says, the problem isn't that he bought them. It's that he knows what they're worth. Or excuse me, it's that he knows they are worth more, and the couple selling them are unaware of what it's worth. Let me pose a question. If he had told them the actual value, do you think they'd have sold it to him for that price? The answer is probably no, and he knows that. That's why he doesn't mention their actual value to the people that he's buying it from. He's a sleazeball selling garbage for a premium. And so my comment was, so let's just say I didn't buy it. What would have happened? Just to kind of go along with that. So, and I wanted to see the response of people on my Facebook page, which is not dominated by resellers. And, you know, when posed with those simple logical questions, a lot of times people speak, they don't really look at the ramifications. Like, for instance, you know, what they don't realize when they want you to pay more for something is that money's coming out of your pocket, that money's coming out of your kid's pocket, that money's coming out of your vacation fund, coming out of your college fund, your retirement fund, whatever it is. They don't see that. They only see the people who are selling those things voluntarily, I might add, and trying to do it quickly and get it gone, right? So looking at that particular question, what would happen? Because we know what happens at garage sales with stuff. And a lot of times this stuff's late in the day when I ask for those discounts and when folks do, because they don't want to take it back in the house. So what's going to happen to that stuff? Either they take it back in the house and it sits in the basement for 20 more years, or it gets donated to a thrift store, or sometimes it gets thrown away altogether. And there's other things that could happen. Maybe they say, yeah, maybe I will resell this. But that almost never, ever happens. So, you know, don't let these folks, their opinions dictate the overall opinion of what's going on. I think it does deserve some rebuttal, and some of you are really, really good at it, reading your comments. I just love watching it. So these New Balance shoes right here for $70 plus shipping. I think that's right. Close your eyes, Mike. $70 plus shipping, 99 7H shoes. $70. Because here's the reality, y'all. You deserve to get paid for what you're doing. You're taking it out of a marketplace and you're going to put it in a bigger marketplace for people who need and want that stuff. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Now, that's not to say you should lie to people out there and be deceitful. I don't do that. You know, people criticize me sometimes. They'll say, oh, you said this is for your kid or whatever. And like I did it with these magazines, these wrestling magazines the other day. It's like, you know, you made my brother happy because you're going to get these, you know, and his Christmas gifts and whatever. And all that was true. I didn't say all of them. I sold some of them. And boy, people came after me on that. I'm like, I meant it. I don't say, hey, I'm going to get this for my kid and then sell it unless my kid doesn't want it. Right? Or I'll say something like, my kid would like that. Every time I say it, I mean it. That's what I'm talking about, being deceitful. Don't say, oh, this is for my Aunt Lori, and then go sell it to somebody else. That's not, shout out Aunt Lori, by the way. That's not the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And besides, that stuff doesn't make a difference anyways. If somebody thinks you're going to get it for your kid, they're not going to give you a bigger discount. Most people do not care. They only want it gone. And in this particular buy, you know, this one person came in and commented like, are you serious? They're like, this person's got to send, he's got to list hundreds of things on eBay. He's got to ship them out. He's got to pay taxes on it. He's got to do all this stuff. He deserves the money. And, you know, I tend to agree with that argument, of course. But that argument doesn't even need to be made, in my opinion, when people are talking about ethics. If two people agree on a deal, it's a deal. It doesn't have anything to do with the outside sources. Now, it may not be what you do, may not be what I do, but it definitely is not unethical by any stretch, unless you're doing things that are unethical, which is, you know, lying or stealing or something like that. Rescuers Ornament, this one is going to Wayne, I believe. Yeah, $20. Thank you, Wayne, plus shipping. Most people who do this are good people. This community is terrific. Not everybody, like any community. There's some crooks in here too, but some Hunter boots. Picked these up at the 100-mile sale. After some pickers went through, they left me a couple little crumbs. And these were $2, sold for $35 plus shipping. I actually think I could have got a little bit more, but we sold them real quick. I actually love that more resellers are not only standing up for themselves, but standing up for other resellers. Be proud of what you do. I'm proud of what I do. Absolutely proud of it. I provide for my family, for my kids, for my wife. You know, we do this together. I have no problem whatsoever. At the same time, you know, you'll see me do this sometimes at a church sale or something. I'll make the deal. I'll haggle the deal down because business is business. And then at the end of it, I'll give a donation. But I don't make it part of the deal because charity is charity and business is business. They can commingle, but, you know, in my mind, it's like, all right, I paid $20 for this. I'm going to make $60 on it. That's where I want to be. But you know what? I also want to help these kids at the lemonade stand. I also want to do this. And that stuff is all just determined by your own conscience. But there's that, you know, don't fall for these things and get yourself convinced to some of this nonsense out there. And I appreciate all those folks who jump in there and make their voices heard about reselling issues, about protecting resellers, and some of the nonsense you see out there. Speaking of resellers, Virginia grabbed one of these guys right here. Best thing you could do for your eBay store to get it moving. Of course, that's sarcasm, but we really do appreciate you guys for years now. We're, like I said, we're down to just the decoration at this point, and we're doing them a little slower than we used to, but the old Enaman is still selling, which is really awesome. So thank you, and we hope it gets things moving for you. What non-resellers don't see is all this stuff, all the storage, all the taking pictures, cleaning, testing, shipping. They don't see it all, and the margins aren't crazy. Somebody's like, oh, you're going to make 9 times your money on this. No, I'm not. I wish I was, but I'm not. And some items, of course, we do. One person said 900 times your money or some nonsense. Like these, you know, when I picked these up, I thought they'd go really well. Some old Nike Shocks. And got them home, and they weren't as in good, you know, when I started putting my fingers inside of them and finding some flaws and stuff, and I put them out there, and they didn't sell for a long time until they went on 25% off, and they finally did sell. $33.71 plus shipping. And on a bit of a tangent here, you know, those people that say, I would pay more for that than the asking price and stuff like that, which, fine, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but you know, what other thing on YouTube, whatever profession do people tell other people, hey, you should give yourself a pay cut, which is essentially what they're saying. This one took a while to find. It was in this bin. I looked over there first, couldn't find it, so I started checking these right here. toy bins and stuff like that. This would normally be something I'd stick up here, but I must not have that day. This has been around for a while. Let's see. Kayla bought this. Michaela bought this. And looks like he bought something else. So let me go find that too. Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Harry Potter wand working, and it's turned on right now. So that's not good. How did that happen? Must have jostled it when I came. What in the world? Is it always on? I'm so confused. There, now it's off. Now it's on. It's magic. How do you turn it off? There we go. What the heck? I'm so confused. At any rate, Caleb, it's on. I think when I smashed that box lid down, it turned on. Hopefully it's still working when you get it, Michaela. We appreciate it. That one's sold for $18 plus shipping. So for that very small percent of resellers out there that let that kind of stuff get to you and convince you that what you're doing is not right or whatever, just, you know, let it pass. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing whatsoever, as long as you're doing it in an ethical manner, you know, and your conscience can live with it. And so hopefully, you know, some of you can overcome that stuff. What you're doing is good. What you're doing is for the right reasons, for your family, for yourself, and be proud of it. Sold another camera. This is a Canon A430. I think it sold for $50 plus shipping. And Michaela says, how funny. I was looking for this exact same camera and just so happens my all-time favorite reseller, well, to be honest, my only, had one for sale. Double win for sure, LOL. I'm going to take a look at your store, maybe to see what else I can get. And she also got that Harry Potter thing. Well, that's very, very kind of you. Hope to see you at the US 12 highway sale in Michigan in August. That was a thought of ours, but I don't think it's going to happen because we've got a sale before the 127 and then the 127, and that one takes place right after that. There's just no way my wife's going to put up with it. So you're not going to be gone for 3 weeks. Not happening. Michaela, triple treasures. And you have 10 feedback here on eBay. So I'm assuming you're maybe a beginning reseller. Maybe you're not a reseller. Maybe you're a buyer and you're but thank you very, very much. I hope you enjoy the camera. All right, y'all, Turner's got to go get ready for practice. But he's got a little saying for you, a little Commonwealth quote. What do you got?
From the fruit of their lips, people are filled with good things. And the work of their hands bring them rewards.
Very good. I love that one. That's one of my favorites right there. So that means if you work hard, you're going to be rewarded for it. And if you speak good things to people, people will reward you for that too. If you're mean to people all the time and say mean things all the time and destructive things all the time, it's usually what you get back. Thanks, bud.
Bye.
You know, that reminds me of some of those other comments I hear from folks, you know, when you get a great buy, you know, maybe you should go back. These aren't resellers saying this, but maybe you should go back and give the folks some more money. And to be honest, I've done that probably 5 or 6 different times. Sometimes you just simply can't, nor would you want to. And I thought, I wonder if people posted the videos where they buy something, bring it home, and it's garbage, and somebody says, hey, this thing worked. And you get home and it doesn't work, or, you know, whether it's a VCR, a camera, or whatever it is, you know, I wonder what they would think if you made a video going back to those people's house, knocking on their door and asking for a refund. I bet they wouldn't like that either. And Reagan's headed to gymnastics practice. Everybody going somewhere. I got to take Turner today. So, Blue Ridge Mom, is she home yet?
She's going to be home in like 30 minutes.
Ooh, you're going to be late today. Ooh, she's in trouble. All right, what do you got?
Sarah got the next to last Hillbilly sticker.
You got it.
Bye. And don't forget to get your sticker at CommonwealthPicker.com.
Scooby-Doo keychain. $10. I think we sell them for $10.95, but I took an offer for $10. Free shipping on that one. Hey, I had a note on my sheet over here I wanted to mention really quick. I did an Upside ad for the Commonwealth Picker channel, and I've been talking about Upside forever. And I had a bunch of people ask me, hey, you know, where do I find the link? Where do I do whatever? And so I figured I'd put this over here. A lot of people ask me on Facebook as well. I doubt this video will ever appear on Facebook, but I do have a link to that Upside thing. By the way, thank you for everybody signing up. I made like 85 cents yesterday on it. I was pretty excited, like, oh, look at all these people signed up. It's very little, but it all adds up. Made I think over $400 in savings on that app. And I'm not doing a commercial for it here. I did it over there, but people asked. So that link is down below. And for all you going after these community sales too, highway sales, you know, and you're not in familiar territory and you want to find a restaurant or a gas station and get a little bit cheaper that's on your route, I suggest it. I like it. I enjoy it. It's not, you know, going to make you rich or anything, but if you're looking to save $8-10 on a trip or something, you definitely can do that. So that link's always there, or over on CommonwealthPicker.com in the affiliate section. So thank you for the people who asked, and thank you for the people who signed up. All right, y'all. This is much later that night. Just got back from Turner's practice and shipped everything. My wonderful wife did not help me today, like she normally does, but she deserves a day off. So I forgot an item right here, and this is the one that Jess found behind that. Wait a minute, there's two here. This is not the one. This is the one. This is not the one that's sold. So we'll put that one back over here right next to Wendy Richter and Howard the Duck. And these prints, I think they're 11 by 11. I'm going to have to ship it out in probably a record box down here. I think that's right anyways. Yep. We'll ship it out in that. That right there was a surprise. And what the heck was it behind? Was it in that wrestling lot? I can't remember where we got it. But at any rate, we didn't know we had it. That one sold for $20.85 for that one. That is not a real signature, by the way. So, just a print on. It's pretty cool Elvis picture, an old one. And so sometimes those old prints can do okay, even in poor condition. I am very sorry I was all over the place today, but you know, I know so many of you guys out there. I've learned a lot of you through comments and messages. I see so many amazing things that so many resellers do, not just for their own families and for staying out of debt and college and all that stuff and making ends meet, but for other people. I've seen this community come together for other people many, many times. And I hate it when people kind of just disrespect what we do and how much work goes into it. And I understand some of it to a certain degree, but some of it just really gets under my skin a little bit. And I'm so happy to see so many people out there defending each other in this, you know, the little group of resellers that we have, and doing it in a kind way as well. Not lashing out back at people like they're lashing out sometimes, and not using some of the rhetoric, but using logic and reason. And I really, really like that. So at any rate, I'll shut up. Thank y'all for joining us, and I can't wait to see you next time.